Have you ever watched a movie and thought to yourself, cloning looks pretty cool? Well, if you have, I have news. Cloning is actually possible. It's not as out of science fiction as some big machine mass producing hundreds or thousands of clones in minutes, but cloning is something that happens both artificially and naturally. We're going to start talking about natural cloning because it's been around longer. It's also known as asexual reproduction, and it happens in a lot of creatures. Mostly invertebrates, like the sea anemones, flatworms, sea stars, corals, hydras, and plenty more. But there's also some vertebrates that are capable as well, like some species of reptiles, amphibians, and fish. There's a few different ways that asexual reproduction happens, but for time reasons, I'm going to focus on how vertebrates do so. Vertebrates reproduce asexually with a process called parthenogenesis. It is where an egg develops an embryo with one parent's DNA, notably found in the all-female species of lizards, the New Mexican whiptails. The parent develops the egg entirely alone. There are also a few cases of other animals reproducing this way, although most of the reported cases I can find were in captivity. Some of these cases showcase that animals can reproduce sexually or asexually. The process in which otherwise sexually producing animals reproduce asexually is called facultative parthenogenesis. Most of these cases occur in females that have either been separated from males their entire reproductive life or for an extended period of time. A likely example of facultative parthenogenesis is Charlotte the stingray. She's been housed away from males for nearly a decade, and as of me writing this, is currently pregnant. But now that we've touched on cloning in nature, let's move on to cloning with specialized human involvement. There are two main types of artificial cloning: embryo twinning and somatic cell nuclear transfer. Embryo twinning is the process in which an embryo is separated into individual cells that divide and develop in a petri dish, and then are placed in a surrogate mother. In a way, it is comparable to how twins occur naturally, except it happens on purpose in a petri dish. The other main type is somatic cell nuclear transfer, which is where the nuclei are taken out of both a somatic cell and an egg cell. The nucleus from the somatic cell is then transferred into the egg cell, and the new nucleus is reprogrammed by cytoplasmic factors within the cell, and the cell develops into an embryo and is then placed within a surrogate mother. But now that we've touched on how animals are able to be cloned, let's jump back and look at the past a little bit, and also some of the benefits and repercussions of cloning. Cloning has been looked into for decades, and the first successfully cloned animal using adult cells was a sheep named Dolly in 1996. Dolly was cloned using somatic cell nuclear transfer and lived a relatively normal life. She had multiple offspring and eventually died at the age of 6. While not exactly full animals, scientists can also use cloning to help reproduce stem cells, which are an early form of cell which can turn into many different kinds of cells and tissues. Like, for example, nerve cells or insulin-producing tissues. They can also use cloning to help study diseases within animals or humans, and even to help produce more meat or milk or other resources that populations may need. There's even cases where cloning can be used to bring back pets that have passed away. There's even potential for scientists to be able to work to bring back extinct animals like the woolly mammoth. Although a major repercussion is there's an increased chance of birth defects and cases of premature aging within cloned animals. But to finish, there are a lot of ethical stances behind cloning as well. On one hand, it could greatly help provide all sorts of resources and help with conservation of endangered species. On the other hand, it could be harmful to the cloned animals, as health issues tend to be more common, and it could damage both the ecosystems and environment if done on a large scale. I would also like to point out that this is a really basic explanation of cloning, and there's a lot more to it. But this might get you interested. But for now, I will leave you with a question. Is there anything you would clone if you had the chance?